All right, so now I go over section 2.6. Now here we want to work on absolute value. Again, absolute value is the distance. And so if you want to find absolute value of 3, absolute value of 3 is 3. And absolute value of negative number, like what is absolute value of negative 5 is 5. The reason is this: absolute value is the distance. And the reason we use the absolute value again is because if you, let's say you're in point A and you have a doctor appointment on 2 different places, and these 2 places are in opposite directions, and this is your house here. And the distance from your house to this city or to this place is 20 miles. And your distance also in a different opposite direction to the other city also is 20, but it's opposite directions, right? So in that case, I would say the distance from point X to point A is absolute value of 20, and our distance from X to B is absolute value of minus 20. The reason we do that to indicate that these 2 distances are in opposite directions. The outcome is positive 20. Why? Because we are talking about the distance. So when you have a number and you want to remove the number from the absolute value, always has to be positive. So now we want to know how to solve the equations, like solve absolute value of X is equal to 19. Absolute value of what number is 19? There are always 2 possibilities. One is positive 19 and negative 19. Both numbers give you 19, right? If I take absolute value of 19 is 19, and absolute value of negative 19 also is 19. So if you have the absolute value equations and you want to solve, if you have absolute value of X equal to any number, you could always change it to 2 separate equations. One is positive, one is negative of what you have on the other side. All right, so let me show you example. You want to solve these equations. Absolute value of 2x minus 1 is equal to 3. According to this formula, what you have on the right side, you could write 2 equations. One is 2x minus 1 is equal to 3, or positive 3. Second equation, 2x minus 1 is equal to negative 3. So absolute value equation would change to 2 separate equations like this. So this one is x equal to 2. And x equal to negative 1. So there are 2 answers to absolute value equations. Now, I want to check to see if it's work or not. Look, you take these 2 and you substitute here. 2 times 2 is 4, minus 1 is 3. Negative 1, you take negative 1 and you substitute here. Negative 1 times 2 is negative 2, and negative 1 is negative 3. And absolute value of negative 3 is 3. So both answers are correct. So absolute value equation always have 2 answers in this particular case. We want to solve these absolute value equations. To use absolute value equations or to use the formula, you must have absolute value alone on one side. So I don't need positive 2. I have to move positive 2 to this side, right? In order to use a formula. So now I have absolute value of x plus 1 is equal to 8. Now, to write these equations, equation is if you want to move any expression out of the absolute value, you got to write it as a and minus a. So here there are two equations. One is x plus 1 equal to 8, and x plus 1 is equal to negative 8. So now you solve these two equations. To solve these two equations, you come up with two answers. So here is x equal to 7, x equal to negative 9. So there are two answers to this. And you could always check yourself. Look, I want to check to see if 7 is correct or not. This is the equations. All right. So you put a 7 for x. See? And now you could try the other ones. Number comes out of the absolute value is positive. See? Both answers check. So what is the solution set? Solution set is 7 and negative 9, or negative 9 and 7. (15x) is equal to 0. We want to solve this one. According to formula, you have 15x is positive 0 and 15x is minus 0. You understand that positive and negative 0 both are the same thing. So here you just have one equations. Because positive, again, positive 0 and negative 0 doesn't make any sense. Both are 0. So 15x is equal to 0. Divide both sides by 15. I use my calculator. 0 divided by 15 is always 0. So this solution set, the solution set is 0. Means there is only one answer in this case. Another one, very similar to that. So I don't have to write 0 twice, because positive, negative 0 is the same thing. So in that case, you move negative 5 to the other side, divide both sides by 11. So x is 5 over 11. What if you have both absolute value? You want to solve this one, look. Z plus 3, and the second absolute value is z minus 5. How do I solve this problem has two absolute value? When you do that, my suggestion is just assume that you don't have any absolute value here. All you have is this. Absolute value is equal to this. Okay? So one equation is z plus 3 is z minus 5. Second equation is z plus 3 is negative z minus 5. See, you end up having two equations. Again, remember, if you have is x equal a and x equal minus a, so a can be anything here. Like in this case is z minus 5, right? So now you solve these equations. In this one, if I move z and 3, you have z minus z equal negative 5, negative 3, or z equal minus 8 make no sense. So there's no, you don't get any answer out of this one. No answer out of this. But the second one, I bring the negative 1 and distribute. And then I move z to the other side and 3 to the right side. So you have 2z is equal to 2. Z equal to 1. This problem has only one answer. Z is equal to 1. So this is in case you have two absolute value. Now there are problems. It's positive 3. See, again, two equations, one with a positive, one with a negative. Remember, there are two answers. One is 0 and 6 over 5. This is the solution set. You can do these problems. Why not? Absolute value always has to be positive. What it comes out of the absolute value is positive. This is not correct. This is a negative. No solution. See, because if I find any number here, when I substitute here, right, and divide by 8 plus 4, the outcomes, when it comes out of the radical, out of the absolute value should be positive, but I have a negative one. That's impossible. Any expressions come out of the absolute value has to be positive. So this one doesn't have any solutions. There are two answers. So the solution set is 5 negative 17 over 3. The last problems? Again, when there are two absolute values equal to each other, what I do is just ignore this, the second one. I assume is like this. Just keep the absolute value on one side. So this part, it has to be positive or negative. So you said 2a plus 9 is equal to 3a minus 3, and 2a plus 9 is equal to negative 3a minus 3. I put in the parentheses so you understand it better. So 2a comes to this side, 3 goes to that side. So a is 12, that's one answer. Three a goes to this side, 9 goes to the other side. A is minus 6 over 5. So there are two answers to these problems. So that would be end of section 2.6.